welcome to Chaotic Pubcast. I'm Ryan Damask. I'm here with Z Diggity and our good friend Raziel.
We got Raziel. Raziel.
I'm in here.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Just plugging away, making games, getting banned in World of Warcraft. You know.
Yeah, I'm hoping to dive into that story. You didn't give me much context on your stream.
Yeah,
so
I'll get into that for sure.
Hey, Raz, the first pre-patch is amazing, by the way.
Hey, I know. I have a second. I have a second WoW account, and I've been fucking around on that. I've always had one as a backup.
Says awesome,
the first time I got banned.
Nothing says awesome though as pre-patch on your actual account, though. So
no, it's true.
Saying,
and I've actually decided that most likely there's a 90% chance that when my ban is lifted, I'm gonna race change my blood elf to an orc.
Despite the legs that you complain about.
Yeah, even though the feet look stupid as fuck.
Are you gonna be a slouched orc?
I think I'll alternate between. I think
posture?
you'll see his chiropractor every other week, and I'll just go back and forth. You know, I think I'll have him hunched over when life's really got me down. You know, but the main reason I decided to is because A, the shoulders are fucking bigger, right? And B, with the changes that they've made to Blood Death Knight, the resource generation, the Blood Elf racial is just not as valuable to me. And because I plan on doing a lot of PvP this time around with Raw, orc racials are so much better for PvP. They're so much better. So I figured, I was originally an orc for a long time as a DK, so might go back.
That's why I always liked playing as like Tauren or Orc or even Draenei, just because the fucking shoulders.
Yeah, there's big ass shoulders, man. I mean, nothing looks cooler than a Tauren in full plate, though.
Right. So if you haven't figured it out yet, we're talking about World of Warcraft and some MMO experiences. With the pre-patch came out this
Tuesday.
Past
Tuesday, yeah.
I haven't had the chance to jump in yet. I've been plugging away at work, but I'm excited to jump in there and see what we got. Z, I know you've been playing it some. Raz, you've been playing it some.
Yeah.
How is it so far? Is there really anything
you go
to do yet?
Yeah. So with pre-patch, other than like the big thing for me was that the UI update, because I was shocked with Elv UI and using that, and I love Elv UI. I know you're an Elv UI user as well, Damas, but it was nice to get rid of it, to be honest with you, because I'm actually using regular UI, so that's awesome. There's something about the actual functionality of the game is within the game that makes me want to play it more. I can't explain it. It's kind of weird.
I know what you mean.
And then the talent trees. I've just been poking around I play a holy priest, and I've even dinked around with the discipline side of it. And so those are really the only two things that have really been released so far. So it's a lot of players standing around in Oribos. You can just see a lot of idle players, and we all know they're just
a lot
in
of
their
turnips on the ground. People using as target dummies to try shit out.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, there's a ton of them.
What's the big changes with the skill trees again?
So I think Blizzard learned a fucking lesson. And by the way, for anyone watching, I forgot to mention this. MMOs, like the genre, is like my shit, and that's what I've been doing since 1999. So I've gone through many iterations of many different MMOs. I'm not saying this to say I know what I'm talking about, because obviously some shit I'm wrong about, but I'm saying this as I've been there, done that. Right? So Blizzard takes this a long time to learn certain lessons, and I think they finally figured out from Classic and BC Classic and now Wrath Classic that the old way was better. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Because the talent systems they added in, they trimmed them down severely in Cataclysm, but then they got rid of them altogether in Mist of Pandaria. And that's when they added what we've had since then, those rows where you pick one talent per row.
Right.
And then every single fucking expansion after that, they've swapped positions on the rows and took stuff out, added stuff to try to make things feel new and fresh, which just pretty much meant, hey, relearn your class every fucking expansion. It got really toxic. But then they also realized it's so much harder to add more rows. because you can't add another row every expansion, and then eventually, each row is going to be this big.
You're just at that point, you're just go back to skill trees,
Yeah, and that's what they did. They're like, everyone seems to really like the skill trees in the original WoW, so they brought those back. But in my opinion, they're very much improved. I mean, obviously, there's still going to be meta builds and the best cookie cutter shit.
That's what I was going to ask. If there, it's like if I play a holy priest, for instance, is it going to be like if I want to jump in this raid, potentially like I'm going to have to use this standard build, or is there a little bit more flexibility to still being?
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to. Is the amount of flexibility is insane. You can change fight to fight. Like you could, before you had to have a book, and you read the book, and you could change one of your talents. Now you don't need a book anymore. You can just change on the fly whenever you want, and you can save. I think up to 12. I might be wrong on the number, but you can save quite a few builds and switch between them whenever, as long as you're not in combat. You can switch your build whenever the hell you want and save it. You can copy and paste your build.
That's
and people can
nice.
like you could go like some blood DK, right, could come up to me and be like, hey man, you're like, I looked at you on Warcraft logs and you're in the top 99th percentile. What's your build? And I can literally not leave the game, just right there, click a button, and it'll give me a URL that I can then paste to him in chat in the game, and he can paste it into his talent tree and it'll copy it. And
that's cool.
They're doing that, and it's and the thing is as expansions come out, they're going to just be able to add new, because you get more points, they're going to be able to add things. And it's much easier to balance that way, because if there's one talent that's super overperforming, they don't have to fuck an entire tree. They can just go to that one talent and adjust it, which is what they used to do with the old talent trees.
Yeah.
So that's back. We're not getting, and I'm sure we'll get into this a bit later, but we're not getting any more stupid borrowed power systems that have plagued the game. They've been that and how legendaries work have single-handedly been the two worst things ever added to the game since they started coming in my opinion.
So as far as like gameplay goes, that's awesome. Like when we all, because we were all playing WoW together, when we all kind of unanimously decided let's go do other things, we a bunch of us went to Lost Ark, and one thing that I did like was the fact that you could change your talents whenever you wanted. So the fact that that's made it into WoW finally was a big win for me. Now, Blizzard is notorious for not having the best storytelling capabilities. That's never
going to change. Yeah,
that'll never change. However, I'd love to hear your way in on this, since you've kind of been more close to the game over the years. With the beginning with vanilla, the world itself was a character that was awesome. You were just some dude in Azeroth.
Protagonist. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but now it's all like, you're the warrior, you're the chosen one, you're this. Do you see?
You've killed every big bad.
Yeah, it's.
And when you kill the big bad, I was just trying to protect you from the next bad thing. Man, fuck you.
Right. Fuck you, Jailer. Like I guess what I was getting at is, are you do you think that they'll maybe go back to the angle of making the world more of a protagonist as opposed to being like, do you think through Dragonflight the entire time they're going to be like, Dragon Master, follow me?
I mean, I hope not. I hope they don't go that route, but they probably will. Let's be fucking honest. Because I mean, as far as I know, what I've been able to dig up with Dragonflight's story and how they're approaching it is, which by the way, if you guys haven't watched, you know how they did those like animated cutscenes for the 4 weeks leading up to launch of Shadowlands? They're doing the same thing with Dragonflight.
Yeah.
Really fucking good.
I just watched the
dude, those were sick on Shadowlands.
The big bad one. I ultimately think the big bad we're going to face by the end of the expansion in Dragonflight is going to be Galakrond.
Same.
But he's not like a world-ending boss like the Lich King, like the stupid Jailer, like the what was that other boss? Deathwing.
Oh, like Death. Oh, that very relatively unknown character in World of Warcraft.
Yeah, the unknown character from Warcraft 2, Deathwing. Galakrond's not a world ender. He's just pure rage and just fucking kills anything he sees because he's like a beast. He's fucking huge, but he doesn't have like some deep dark motive to steal the Titan's soul or some stupid shit like that. So if they'll call us things, I don't know. But let's be honest, like WoW has retconned itself so deep into the fucking ground. Because you look at, like you were saying, vanilla WoW, the world was the protagonist. Burning Crusade had Illidan and Lady Vash, and the only real, but even then they were just there. You were invading their shit. You were going to Outland. They weren't invading Azeroth or anything. There was no real story in Burning Crusade until Sunwell released the Sunwell patch.
Does every event need to be a cataclysmic, the world's about to blow up event?
I don't think so. I mean, it gets stale after a while, and it diminishes.
It does, impact. And the problem is even when Blizzard tries to not do that, they still fuck it up. A good example is that was the whole point of Battle for Azeroth. Battle for Azeroth wasn't. We're focusing once again on Horde versus Alliance. We're not doing one big bad guy that's trying to take over the world, right? And it was a terrible expansion, but not necessarily because of the story. It was just most servers are horribly imbalanced. War mode was already introduced then, so you couldn't force PvP on anybody. So it's.
I just hate. One of my biggest gripes was just I hated trying to get around, like in what's like the Horde capital place of Battle for
Zandalar.
Zandalar, yeah. Asdra Allure, what is the city, I think?
Fuck that. Yeah, fuck. Seriously, fuck the Horde side city.
Trying to get around that. Trying to get around that city to do anything was like the biggest pain in the ass, and it just felt like extra work.
And it was because they did everything. I mean, it was a literal fucking pyramid. So it was like it wasn't going back and forth. You're going up and down, and flying was disabled at the time. You didn't have Pathfinder yet, so you fuck this. I don't want to do any of this.
Yeah,
like,
I feel like the Alliance definitely had it a lot easier than us Horde players did. Because I did play a character through the Alliance. I made a mage on the Alliance just for fun, and I played through. And the entire time through BFA, I'm like, man, they had it way better than we did. This Zandalar sucks.
I'm curious, since we're on the topic, I'm curious you guys' thoughts. What do you guys think? And not just in WoW, but in MMOs in general, when an expansion comes out and they have like a hub, like they have in almost every expansion. I mean, I think expansion didn't have a hub? Was there any other than vanilla, which was mostly Ironforge, Stormwind, Orgrimmar, and Undercity?
There was one expansion.
Wasn't Mist, was it?
I think
Mist had it, but they were separate, but on the same plot of land, the two towers. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. I do remember one expansion. I spent a lot more time in Orgrimmar than I have in.
Wait a minute. Draenor. You just spent time in your garrison.
Yeah. Fuck, dude. We'll just pretend that expansion didn't happen.
Look, it exists, Raz. It exists, and you have to accept it on this podcast.
The part that I'm sorest about for Warlords was the fact that it's clear they have the tech and the code to do player housing, and they just won't do it.
Yeah,
that's what the garrisons fucking were. But they won't do it.
Well, to answer your question, I think some get it right. Some expansions get it right, and some don't. What I didn't like about Shadowlands is there was no reason to ever go back to Azeroth for anything. Well, pretty much that.
Well, here's the thing that's blatantly obvious. They force people back to Azeroth because in every single like hub. So we have Dalaran for Wrath. We had Shatrath in Burning Crusade. Cataclysm didn't have a hub. Cataclysm was still.
I didn't play Cataclysm.
That's when the main cities changed.
Right, that's when they rebuilt Orgrimmar. Right.
And fucked
Stormwind
in Garrosh's name. Yeah.
Stormwind got like half destroyed.
That's true.
Yeah.
But if I remember, I didn't play Cataclysm, but yeah, to tie in with the lore, they made it more of a war city with Orgrimmar.
That's true.
Was very much a warmonger.
And you know what? Before, like, I know we're on a different topic, but Garrosh was actually really fucking cool during Cataclysm. Like, he was up in Sylvanas' shit, telling her hey, you're turning into Lich King. Stop being such a hoe. Mm-hmm. And she didn't listen. I'm like, oh, all right, Garrosh has got he's swinging some nuts. And then he turned into like just an idiot and missed Pandaria. But anyway, so Cataclysm had no hub city. Then Draenor, we had the fucking garrisons, and then every faction had that base. And then after that, what was after? Oh, Legion had Dalaran again. And then we have Oribos. And then, so like we had all this shit, but for me, the thing that they do one thing to make sure that you don't just stay in that city. They don't put an auction house in the hub. God, so you have to fucking go to, or I wish they wouldn't do hub cities at all.
Every time you flew it, or every time you like use your hearth to go to Oribos and just fucking pray
long boy. Someone's all long.
Yeah. Which and it was shown that it was intentional because right when Shadowlands came out, they took the long boys out of the game too.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, you want one? Yeah. You can still get one. They're about $1,000 real life
$1,000.
Yeah. But I honestly think, like, I thought a hub was cool when it first happened in Burning Crusade, because that was the first time both factions were in the same place at the same time that you didn't fight each other. So I thought at that time,
and Shattrath was dope.
Back in 2007, I was like, oh, that's cool. And then it was a total cock in the ass when they released Warlords, and they're like, oh, Shattrath is in Warlords, but then that's not the hub city. I'm like,
Dalaran was really sick in Wrath too, man. Like, Dalaran was pretty damn cool.
It was, but see, it was still in Azeroth though. I think hub cities, I get why they're there. I get their convenience, but ultimately I don't like them, and I wish they would stop doing them. Take people back to their faction cities, add portals to shit, like if for faster movement. But like, I mean, this is one of the big problems that I'm trying to remember his name now. He streams. I know he used to stream quite a bit on Twitch, and I can't remember his name. I had a few private conversations with him. He was an original dev of Vanilla and BC, but he got fired during BC. But Kevin something, I think. But he said, like, when they were designing Burning Crusade, he was adamantly against releasing expansions in the same way EverQuest did, because EverQuest, they release an expansion and there's a new area, and then the entire player base goes to that area and the rest of the world just dies. And he's like, we don't want to do that. So if we're going to do an expansion, we can't do it that way. Instead of having an expansion, let's just keep doing patches and make Azeroth bigger, but still keep everything relevant, keep the leveling process as slow as it is. And they pretty much told him to go fuck himself. And
it's always so funny when you think about it, because you have all these areas from these previous expansions, which, unless you're leveling up a character and choose to go that route to go there,
time.
Like, they're just sitting there.
Yeah, or if you're farming T-Mog, you fly through some areas, but outside of that, you ever go there.
I was going to mention that as well. If I had one big problem with the hub city is the barren wastelands of just content trash that the game becomes. They need to figure out, I'm not saying I have a solution to this, but some sort of solution to making those areas active again. And just for the sake of fact checking, by the way, was it Kevin Jordan? Raz?
Kevin Jordan, yes.
Yeah, I just pulled it up. So just wanted to kind of clarify for
anybody listening. Him and I had a couple private combos over Discord. This was like 2 years ago.
So that's one thing that Kata really got right? Like, the whole landscape changed, and so the Azeroth that you've known and grown to love, like, it's fun and exciting to go explore it again because it's completely.
But at the same time, it was a little bit, I think, of a wasted effort on. They spent so much time redesigning in all of Azeroth, but obviously when you got Cataclysm, you would go look at it and go, oh, let me see what's changed. But there was nothing for you to do in the new zone. Mm-hmm. So most of the people that experienced the world were people leveling up a new tune, which I mean, let's be honest, how many people are leveling up new tunes or at that time brand new WoW players compared to people that just got the 5 levels they needed to get to cap and then start farming heroic dungeons and shit? Like most people didn't see most of the shit. And
nowadays 9 out of 10 people boost a character.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you know, that's just kind of what happens when you the game's old, when there's a bunch of expansions released. It's a theme park MMO where most content is instanced, and you keep making leveling easier, you know, because and shorter. That's what happens.
On the note of theme park MMOs, one thing I want to bring up, because you and I, we came from MMOs that were sandbox oriented. Mm-hmm. EverQuest myself, and yours was Asheron's Call, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, and one thing that me and you have had many discussions about that I kind of like to bring up now is that I feel like a lot has been lost with modern day MMOs, because like we lose something with instant teleportation, we lose something with everything being so instance. A lot of the weird isms that a lot of people, I feel like a lot of youth today would not appreciate.
They would
like
cry
waiting
like
20 minutes. They would. But I miss it. And I've always viewed World of Warcraft as a video game and not an MMO from my personal experience of what I feel an MMO
right
is.
The last time I felt like I was playing a tried and true MMO when I was playing World of Warcraft was probably during Burning Crusade. Maybe a little bit in Wrath, because that was still when
when you were grinding your
you were grinding rep, you would have to physically fly to the dungeons to go in, physically fly to raids to go in.
Mm-hmm. And you had to unlock
you had to unlock them. There were attunements for shit. You needed to rely on other players in just trade chat to do certain things. But that's all gone. I think to your point, Z, I had 100% agree with you. There's a certain immersion in having to travel places and needing people's help and doing corpse runs, which was never a thing in Wrath. In World of Warcraft, corpse running was never a thing. But the world feels so much smaller when you click a button and enter a queue, and then you just do the content. That's I mean, to be honest, and I'm gonna go, you know, and I'll probably, the Church of Yoshi P will probably, you know, send me fucking anthrax for saying this, but the Final Fantasy 14, since we're on the topic of MMOs, is even worse at this than WoW, where it feels like a single player game with multiplayer features, especially because Final Fantasy is so focused on the narrative, so focused on the story. The whole game is about the fucking story, and it's a good story, and that's why most people play. So it's literally like playing Final Fantasy 7 or Final Fantasy 8, and then every time you get to a boss, you press a button and it invites 7 other people from online to help you beat the boss, and then once the boss fight's over, you walk out. That's what Final Fantasy 14 is. It's just like you're playing a single player fucking game.
I've been burning through the MSQ in order and everything, but I couldn't tell you how often it's like, then okay, now teleport over here and get the crystal of Gargamak. You go get the crystal, and then then you go port over here. Then you'll spend like a good 30 minutes just hitting the teleport button.
100%.
I will say one thing I really liked, and then they killed the ability for the add-on to work, was in Legion there was like a group quest finder, and it was, or a quest group finder add-on, basically, where you could like, oh, I'm about to do this quest, let me just click this button and it'll find other people who are also doing this quest, and it'll group you with them. And I remember quite a few times I would get in, like I would do that for a quest and chat with the other people and be like, hey, are you guys also on this quest in the same area? Well, let's just go do them all together.
That's actually,
that felt, I mean, you're still clicking a button to like queue up, but I mean,
queue button you're talking about is actually still in the game, and it's made by Blizzard. If it's a group elite
but
quest,
it doesn't work as well. if it's a group
there's
of
a little button that'll appear next to the
you,
quest with an eyeball, and you press that, and it'll just auto group you with people, and then you'll the add-on that really got people that got banned hard was the one that lets you shard jump, that lets you phase. Like if someone's like, hey, on layer 7, this rare is up that, you know, on most realms only spawns once a week or once a day. And so you could just sit there and bounce layers where that fucking thing was, and it caused so much stress on the servers of people just bouncing between layers.
Yeah, and Shadowlands, there was that horse that you had to like feed every day or like do different stuff for.
The red horse.
We would just sit there and shard jump into. Yeah.
I mean, the players will always find a way to optimize the fun out of a game. Like, they will always.
I make fun of, like,
I mean, I don't want to wait 2 hours for a random to spawn. I don't care if that makes me.
I tend to make fun of min-maxers quite a bit, just because, like, as a streamer, you'll be just playing a game, and then especially this is exactly why I don't stream Elden Ring, because it just fucking annoys me. You know, it's just like you get the players who come in. It's like, is there a reason? They're like, if I had a nickel for every time I've heard this, the beginning of a sentence start with, "Is there a reason that it's
you're using this weapon
myself.
Or this build?"
Yeah, it's like go eat the hot pocket your mom prepped for you and leave me alone. You know,
It's I totally get what you mean. It's and there's always going to be backseat drivers. And like for me, as far as min-maxing, I mean, I've never been that hardcore of a min-maxer. I mean, you guys, when you guys raided with me, you guys saw my logs and how I was always in the 99th percentile for 3/4 of the encounters we would do. And I would always look, man. I would always look at what's best, but I would be like, okay, if something is, to me, if there's 2 abilities I can pick between, and one is, say, 3% stronger than the other one, but the other one is like 10 times more fun to use, I'm always going to go with the one that's more fun to use. I don't care about that 3%. Right. Now, if it's a 20% disparity, I'll probably pick that, because at that point you're just gimping yourself.
And I'm not so much like I would never consider myself a min-maxer, but hell yeah, if I didn't spend hours and hours on Warcraft logs looking at other characters playing the same class, subclass as me, and figuring out exactly when they're hitting their buttons and stuff like that. It's just not to min-max my character, but so I can be
at the end of the day, if you're a real fucking gamer, you want to be good. I mean, no one wants to be bad at something. You know, regardless of what it is, like no one decides to pick up a hobby and go, I'm going to be really bad at this, and I'm going to stay really bad at this. You know,
we've talked about this before, but it's like it's one thing in Elden Ring if you know you're not that good at it because it's just you. But when you're in a 20-man raid group and you're not good at it, then
you're bringing other people. Then you're bringing other people down to your level.
I fucking lost hair over our Shadowlands raids trying to get better. Like
I remember you were getting pretty frustrated with yourself. Yeah.
Oh, I hated it. I hated the game. I hated myself. I hated life. You know, but I wanted to get better. You know, and that's
you
just
did.
The name of it.
You powered through it, and you got better.
I did. But I'm still no min-maxer. I'll tell you that.
Right.
So.
Dude, I still think about those raids to this day, and not in a negative way, like in a positive. Like I was just thinking about it the other day. Something popped up. I streamed the other day on Twitch, and apparently some of our clips are still like in my highlights or whatever. And I watched a few of them, and I was like, dude, this was so much fun.
Dude, we had a lot of fun doing those. I mean, minus some things here and there, but like overall, it was really, really fun. I mean, I was like, Z, you said you were stressed because you felt your numbers were bad. You need to bring them up, and you want to get your rotation better and your mechanic awareness better or whatever. And for me, like my biggest stressor was just managing all you fuckers. Like I was just sitting there, like not you guys particularly, like you guys weren't problems, but like having to go through and be like, all right, who's a fucking issue? Who's a problem? I got to work on my soft skills here because I'm not exactly the fucking nicest guy in the world,
bro. I was going full Ultra Instincts with my soft skills the entire raid process with some of the shit that was.
Who has the best soft skills?
Love you, Noobish. Oh, fucking Noobish. Yeah. Love you, buddy.
That guy lost his shit, but to be fair, he was sloshed every night.
Dude, we were all of us were sloshed every night during those.
You would go on progression nights. No,
you had to put a rule in,
and every time I'm like messaging Z, I'm like, right,
yeah. The entire time, like, hey man, we got you.
Yeah.
Or the best is you would say, all right, on progression nights, no drinking, and Nubish would be like, I'm not drinking. I had 5 shots before I got here.
Yeah. I mean, I knew everyone was doing it anyway. I fucking knew everyone was doing it anyway. But like, yeah, I've been a raid leader or a guild leader or both in WoW. Out of the 18 years, is it 18? Shit, it came out in 2004.
Almost
18 years.
Almost 18, yeah.
Yeah, that I've been playing the game.
Jesus.
I would say, if I was at least like a class officer minimum to guild leader at the top, somewhere. So I was either a class officer, a raid leader, the guild master, or a combination of the 3. Out of the 18 years, I probably was that for 14, 15 of them. And it, like the thing that sucks the most is I can tell in 2 seconds if someone's getting carried. I watch these people just be bad, and then when I try to help them, a lot of people get very defensive. And I'm like, and I don't even think I approach them in a bad way. I mean, I'm not going to mention the person, but like Z and I had a discussion about a particular person where I tried to help them, someone that used to raid with us, and they got super defensive. And someone else in our raid that plays the same class, knows everything about the class, was really good. I reached out to him and said, hey, can you help this person? Because I don't know that class as well. Can you look over their logs and give them some advice? And he's like, yeah, sure, no problem. And they did. And then I got a message from that person saying like, this guy's being a fucking dickhead. And I'm like, well, what? This guy's like the nicest guy ever. Like, screenshot what he said, and then I went back to him and I was like, and that person wouldn't screenshot it. So I went to the other guy. I'm like, what did you say to them? What the fuck? Like, what did you do? He's like, what are you talking about? It's like, they said you were an asshole. So they're like, well, show me the conversation. So he screenshots the whole conversation and sends it to me. And the guy was as nice as could fucking be. Like, said nothing mean in any way. And nothing that he could even be perceived as being like condescending or rude. Just literally providing links and resources and saying, if you ever need anything, hit me up and I'll help you. And I was like, dude, I was getting fucking pissed at that point. I'm like, why can't people just be adults, man? Like,
well, when it comes to anything, and one of the biggest lessons that I personally learned that I really take to heart is a saying that be intelligent enough to look like a fool. Like, because sometimes because you'll have to look like a fool in order to get the knowledge. Like, you have to be the fool. Like, if you're not willing to look like the fool every once in a while, and the subservient one who has to ask those questions, then you're not going to advance and you're not going to get better.
And it's like one of the first lessons that my sensei taught me way back in the day. I was like 15. Is he said like, you're always consider yourself a beginner. It's like, because the second you think you've mastered something, you're unteachable. No one can teach you anything if you think you've mastered it. And he's like, so you're always consider yourself a student. And that's true in anything.
So your next stream is going to be labeled again, God tier blood KDK does.
Yeah. Hey man, I know I'm God tier blood DK, man. I got the logs to prove that shit.
Yeah, screw you, Sensei.
I better be a God tier fucking blood DK, since that's what I've been playing since Wrath. Fuck. If I was bad after playing it since 2009, I should just fucking quit.
Uninstall, man. Go play Hello Kitty Island Adventure.
Yeah, no shit. Is that a real game?
Yeah. No. Maybe. Probably.
I'm really...
What?
Hello Kitty Island Adventure. It was a joke in the Warcraft South Park, but I don't know if that's a real fucking game.
Yep. Hello Kitty Online. MMORPG.
Oh my god.
Dude. Now we found a game we can
shit. Okay, we're scrapping this episode. I need everybody to go and do some Hello Kitty Island Adventure. I'm playing this on stream.
There's a new expansion coming out. Hello Kitty Cataclysm.
Oh my god. I'm fucking playing this on screen. When you're all streaming Dragonflight, I know what I'm streaming. It's on MMORPG.com.
Oh my god.
The raid boss is a dog.
I know you wanted the story, Damask, of how I got banned.
Oh yeah.
So
how'd you get banned?
The second ban that I've received on this account. The first ban was back in 2000. I want to say 2000, late 2005, early 2006. When I told one of the developers,
for the Alliance above all,
and they banned me for a few weeks. They perma-banned me up until 2 years ago from the WoW forums for it.
Really?
And then
Chaotic Pubcast After Hours. It's not condone telling other people.
23 years old and had a temper, and I told him to, and then they somehow my ban on the forums got lifted, and I don't know why or how. I thought it was permanent, because like when I looked at it first, it was like, this is permanent, like you can't not appeal this ban. And I think you remember how the old WoW forums used to look like way back in the day. I think it's when they did this switch to the new structure, the ban got lost in translation, and I was able to post again.
They probably couldn't migrate the code or do a migration without like getting rid of that or something.
But
so what happened this time?
This time on Wrath of the Lich King, I was playing Wrath of the Lich King Classic, and I was just fucking around. I'm like, dude, I did all this shit. Like I did all this grind in 2008. You know, I don't want to do it again. And so I fucking bought gold online, man. So I could fucking, so I could get some of the off pieces. I didn't want to farm them. I was like, and it was cheap, you know. And so
that's exactly like Wrath Classic for me. I mean, that's exactly like Wrath back in the day for me. I was buying gold left and right.
And for anyone watching this, it's like, yo, Raz, you're an RMT piece of shit. Let me tell you something, okay? You can buy gold right now from Blizzard in retail. All you have to do is buy a WoW token and sell it. The only reason I got banned is because Blizzard's fucking salty. They didn't get a cut. All right? That's what happened. So I bought some gold, and they fucking suspended me for 14 days. And my ban runs out in Wednesday morning of next week.
And then this podcast is going to launch on that Tuesday, and they're going to ban you again for saying
it's like,
dude,
you can tell he still wants that.
I was a rookie shit.
Dude, let's ban him again. That dev probably doesn't even work there anymore. Oh, it was the community manager. He doesn't work there anymore. It was the original community manager. Yeah,
he got he probably got in trouble with all the other people at Blizzard.
He got an earful from a 23-year-old raging kid.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're the community manager from back then, like and subscribe below.
I'll send you a T-shirt.
It was the community manager before Ghostcrawler. I don't remember which one that was.
I've never been a forum guy, so like all their screen names are just kind of like lost on me.
Right. Well, see, but back in 2004, 2005. For every MMO, Assurance Call, EverQuest, Dark Age Camelot, if you weren't able to play the game, you were on the fucking forums. That's how hardcore you were into the game. And that's kind of gone away.
No Twitter then.
Yeah. So, I mean, well, it doesn't help that there's a 1,000 games now.
Sure.
Like,
yeah. I still, when I was playing before, I spent tons of time in forums, just not on WoW's official ones. I was in WoWheads, Reddit, and Icy Veins forums.
Yeah. And that's just how people, I mean, every game is still that way. They're just generally in MMOs, it's not the official forums, because usually whatever you have to say gets censored or banned or just not seen there. So
As you know, I was playing Resto Druid, or I play Resto Druid, and I joined a Druid only Discord, and I probably learned more about my class from that Discord than I did from any other place on the internet.
They have the same thing for all the Final Fantasy jobs that people do. Like, Discord has kind of taken over most forms of communication when it comes to gaming, especially if it's an MMO. Like, that's just how
Discord should just take over all forms of communication. It's better than everything.
It does for me. I tell people all the time, if you need to get old to me,
Discord.
Better
shit. Like 90% of my communication with my girlfriend is on Discord. So
all of my communication with you, I think I've texted you in our 17-year friendship. I think I've texted you 9 times.
Yeah. Well, I mean, back in college, that's how we texted all the time, because that's just there was no apps on phones back then.
Well,
There was texting.
Just barely fit 5 words on the screen,
Bricks, man.
Yeah.
You have to push a button 7 times, man, to get one word.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, though, I'm curious what you guys' thoughts are on Ashes of Creation. Since we were talking about
I meant to bring that up during the sandbox question, because I've been kind of I've followed Ashes of Creation a little bit. I was following Pantheon Rise of the Fallen longer because Brad McQuaid is spearheading that project.
Sure.
But Ashes of Creation, if it's going to be kind of a sandbox style where they're not afraid to have players wait or take their time or actually explore the world they're in, I'm all for it. I will play it.
Me too.
I'm going to buy it regardless.
I mean, I was a Kickstarter backer for it, so just by how much I donated, I get a copy of it anyway. And I think I get into the second to last alpha test they do. But the guy who's running it definitely has a good head on his shoulders. His background is sandboxy MMOs. And all I'm going to say about it is if Ashes can even deliver 50% of what they say they're doing, what they say they're going to do, it'll be the best MMO we've seen in 20 years.
But the question is it palatable for this generation's gaming? Because a lot of old guard, yeah, but quite frankly, we are the halfway checkout generation now. So
sure,
they're not making games for us anymore.
I mean, if I was I've said this a million times, if I was an MMO creator and I would make a very sandboxy game, a very hard game, a very drop you in the world and good fucking luck game. And if I had people coming into Twitter and the forums and whatever else saying hey, this is too hard, this is, this isn't fun because it's too long or it takes too much time, I have a wife and kids, I can't do this, I'm be like, you know what, bro? I understand. This game ain't for you. Find another fucking game.
Yeah, it's crazy how in every other genre of games, that's not a big deal, right? People search for that. We have stuff like Elden Ring, I mean, Soul series. We have shit like Valorant even, and these games that take an insane level of skill to get really good at. But the second something is hard in an MMO, just everybody cries about it until it gets easier.
And that's why I have mad respect for the guys that make the Souls games, because every Souls game they release, they have torrents of whiny bitches going this is too hard, nerf this, nerf that, make this boss fight easier, this isn't fair, yada yada yada, make an easy mode difficulty. And they always either are met with just silence or are told literally by the developers to get fucking good. And it's I think that's how MMO should handle it too. MMO should be.
I don't think every MMO should. There definitely needs to be some I even think World of Warcraft should continue its direction and just kind of do whatever. But I do think we need an MMO that is hardcore. You gotta get good.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, we need to bring stakes back into MMO.
I agree, and I think that's where the biggest turn that Blizzard took that was wrong was when they got super popular and they hit their subscriber cap of 12.5 million players in Wrath. They got greedy, and instead of being because MMOs were always designed for the D&D, the D&D crowd, the pen and paper RPG crowd is what they were designed for. And they said, hey, I got an idea. Instead of just getting this audience and making the players that want to play WoW adapt to the game, we want to get COD players. We want to get, Battlefield players. We want to get Candy Crush players. We want to get every player of every genre in the game Pokemon players. They want to get
players.
everybody, and so now in order to do that, if you invite everybody into your game, now instead of having the player being forced to get good and adapt to your game, they have to now adapt the game to all the players. And it's just, they'll say, man, if you make a product for everyone, you end up making a product for nobody, because no one's going to be truly satisfied. The hardcore people will be like, this is too fucking easy. The people that are casual as fuck and be like, there's nothing to do. There's, like there's no challenge. And it's, Blizzard had it right during, the difficulty was just right, I think, during Burning Crusade. Burning Crusade was when the difficulty for WoW was where it should have been. And then it was a little too fucking bad in vanilla, but that wasn't necessarily because enemies were tuned badly. It was because the gearing system was terrible. The stat distribution on gear was terrible.
Nobody knew how to play.
Yeah, no one knew how to play. The talent system was unbalanced as fuck. But I think Burning
there was something
Crusade,
I did, but I do think there's something endearing about that level of where the game was back then. There was something
for sure
a bit more endearing about it.
And I think that's what people just don't understand is everybody who's ever, like, whatever was your first MMO you've ever played, you're always going to be searching for that feeling again, that feeling of like awe and wonder and newness, and like you're lost but immersed. And I hate to break it to anyone watching, but you're never going to find that ever again in any game, no matter how good it is. You just won't. You can't re-experience that. You can't catch lightning in a bottle twice. So it's like data mining exists. Guides exist on the internet for every fucking game. It's right there if you want to, right? But in the past, like Vanilla WoW, EverQuest, Assurance Call, Dark Age Camelot, we didn't have access to data mining and all that shit. You just had to figure it out on your own. And unfortunately, that environment will never exist again. Like if you found an amazing
build, there weren't a million YouTube videos.
And if you found an amazing build in Assurance Call or EverQuest or whatever back then, there was no real platform to share it with everybody for it to become meta. That's the thing, is now there is. So meta is widely known and enforced by the player base, not by the company, not by the companies that make the games. Fucking the players enforce meta, and that's just how it is, and it's never going to change.
That's the world we live in now.
Yeah, they could literally balance every item on the skill tree, but there'll be that one that has like that 0.1% advantage on meters that is heavily analyzed, and that's the one everyone's going to jump to for
and at the end of the day, a perfectly balanced game, which by the way doesn't exist, but a perfectly balanced game would be boring as fuck,
right?
And there's no, you don't really want perfect balance in an RPG, because then your choices mean nothing. Literally everything's the same. And I think homogenization is one of the worst things that can happen to any MMO.
And I do like what WoW does every patch or every expansion, where they kind of flip things up on its head. Like Fire Mage might be OP one patch, and then Ice is the OP the next.
I'm cool as long as there's not one spec that releases that's fucking terrible, like just awful, like not even competitive. Everything should be competitive. That's balance.
I think, and I think the biggest quote that I'm going to take away from this is that you said was don't min-max the fun out of it.
Players will always find a way to optimize the fun out of a game.
Optimize the fun out of a game.
It's people are way more concerned. I mean, human beings, we gravitate towards the path of least resistance no matter what we're doing. It's just human nature. Like if you get the same result and you can do it in 2 steps, or you can do it in 10, but the result at the end of both paths is the same, people are going to do the one with 2 steps. That's just what people do. So for most people, they're like, what's the best? So what they're going to do is they're going to go online and they're going to find the best build and just stick with it. And they're not going to experiment themselves. Most people just don't.
That's not how I operate at all.
You're in the minority, man. You're in the minority, man. Most people like to be told what to do.
I like to take the road less traveled personally. I always like to take the unbeaten path. That's
me. I number crunch and math. Like I can't even tell you how many times since they started releasing the talent trees on Wowhead that I've made mock-up builds and fucked with them. And then when the official pre-patch builds came out, I was like, oh, they did some different choices. Interesting. And I went and looked at what they chose. And then I did the math and I'm like, oh yeah, that is actually a better idea. That was a little better. You know, the number nerds crunched it and they were right. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't think of that. And it's, but that's fun for me. And but there are always going to be people that just, I don't want to have to think, just website, tell me what's best and what to do. And I'll just do that. And most people are that way.
Give yourself a shout out or like promote your channel and stuff.
Okay. So I'm Raziel and I have my channel is Game Musings with Raziel. And I've been doing YouTube for about 4.5 years now. Somewhere around there, 4.5, 5 years. And been streaming for about 3 of those off and on. MMO content is what I've always focused on. I'll do a few things here and there, some clips and play some games, some off like single player RPGs. Like I did Elden Ring and Dark Souls 3 and stuff like that. But
Little Nightmares
1 and 2 I did. So I'll definitely deviate here and there, but my main focus has always been MMOs. That's the genre I'm most passionate about since I've been hardcore playing them since 1998. My channel and my streams are definitely not politically correct or very they're not mean, but they're just not, I don't filter or censor myself. I mean, obviously if you come running in there and you start spouting your own political, because I don't talk about my political views hardly at all on there, but if people come in, start saying that, you know, if you want to just come in and start throwing like racial slurs, that's not cool. That's against the rules. But I generally like to let people come in and speak their mind and just shoot the shit and just like talk like real human beings, you know, and I'm just, I can't think of anything that would offend me. Like, so I don't have a line when it comes to being offended. I don't get offended. So,
hey, if you're that community manager, go into his stream and see if you can offend him.
Come on, man.
Get him back,
me, bro. Tell him. Watch, like, I'm going to like go look him up and be like, what happened to this guy? It turns out that he's
ready to work.
Be awful. He's been dead for 15
Turns out
years.
he's the now president of Blizzard. It was a bar the whole time.
Now let's be real, he works at fucking Conoco, man. He works at a Sinclair on the corner somewhere.
Hey, man.
But
at least
that's me, and I just do all kinds of shit. Mostly MMORPG video game related on YouTube. And on no longer Twitch, I'm now streaming on YouTube as well. I'm no longer doing Twitch because many, many, many reasons, which if you take 5 seconds and Google YouTube versus Twitch, you'll see all of the reasons people are switching. So
no, make a video about it.
I'm gonna.
Well, Raz, man, we appreciate having you here. It's good to catch up. It's been too fucking long, and I'm excited to jump back in some raids.
It's going to be so much fun, dude, and hopefully get you out to our neck of the woods for another con. That all con we went to was so much fun.
Yeah. I told Z I'm already kind of workshopping how to get out to Salt Lake in my head next year.
Big enough place that you can crash too. So
yeah, absolutely.
Hell yeah.
So and then we and I don't know if you knew this, Ryan, but Z Dig and you know who Face Kicks is, right? I know. Z-Dig, Face Kicks, a guy from my work, and Ra and Zol are all coming over to my place for Dragonflight's launch, and we're going to stream. We're going to have a big old LAN party all night and just be streaming and
that's
playing.
Awesome. We'll be there.
It's going to be fun as shit, man.
But with that, we'll say goodnight. Make sure you come hang out with us on November 5th for the server battle.
Oh, yeah.
Make sure when Dragonflight comes out, you go check out Raziel's stream. That sounds like it's going to be a blast. I know I'll be there.
It's going to be kicking, man.
But with that, we'll say goodnight. Cheers with your chalky milk and your hot tea.
It's all empty, but got the Zelda cup. There you go. Thanks for having me, guys.
No, dude, we'll get you back on.
Have a good one.
You're willing to come back.